There's no more waiting around. Let's talk to our real guest, my friend John Bradshaw Layfield. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. How you doing, guys?
Great. Glad to have you on the show. Let's get right into it. I was looking on your Facebook. I know you're very into you live in Bermuda. Once I got over the anger of you living in one of the most beautiful places in the world all year round, I realized you were there for good things. You were helping children with the Beyond Rugby Bermuda program. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I worked with Beyond Sport, which is a group out of London, a worldwide organization that's Tony Blair is one of the principals, as well as Desmond Tutu, one of the founders. All 5 Major League sports in the United States back these guys, endorse them, as does the Premier League, Man U, Arsenal, a host of other groups and sports companies around the world. There are about 1,000 charities that use sport for social change. And I saw some things in Bermuda that I'd seen elsewhere in the world with some gang problems, with some at-risk kids, and I wanted to do something for the island here. And so I set up this partnership between the Family Center here, the BRFU, the rugby union, and they needed somebody to run it. So I agreed to run it, and here I am in Bermuda helping kids. There's a 50% black Bermudian male dropout rate in Bermuda, and our kids, after 1 year, we have 60 kids directly under me. 100% of our kids at least say they're going to graduate. And we still have all of our kids on track to graduate. So we've got some success going, but rugby is one of the greatest sports we've found because all you need is a ball. All you need is a ball and some green grass. And you can play 5-on-5 or 15-on-15. And it also helps with kids that have come from at-risk neighborhoods, because it allows them to get their aggression out. And we had our big championship day just a couple days ago, and it's been very exciting. I love working with these kids. I got some great young men that I have the privilege of working with every day.
John, you're going to be doing the 7 Summits Bermuda Challenge. Can you explain exactly what that is and what type of training goes into that?
Sure. I want to raise some money for our kids' programs. I help fund a lot of our program here. I've got some wonderful partners that have helped fund it, Aspen, Validus, Deloitte. Got some wonderful people who backed our program. But I'm trying to do something else for the kids here, and so I've pledged to climb the 7 Summits. 7summitsforkids.com is where you can go on and donate the money. I've got a big announcement about that coming out this week. But right now, I'm paying for everything. So 100% of money raised goes to the kids at risk. Now, I got a big announcement this week, but I can't make it right now, unfortunately. But I plan on climbing the 7 summits, the highest mountain on each continent. There's only been 348 people have done this as of December 2011. I start with Mount Elbrus in Russia in about 6 weeks. June 17th, I'll start mountain climbing. I end up with Mount Everest in the spring of 2014.
Mike Cahill?
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about how the response has been to this? Obviously, this is such a great undertaking to do the 7 Summits. What's the response been from not only the wrestling world, but as well as, other organizations?
It's been good. And I haven't done a lot of media on it yet. I've been waiting on getting a couple more things done, but the response I've gotten has been fantastic. I've gotten people who've gone on 7summitsforkids.com and have donated money, and I've got people that are saying they're going to donate more money to it. But I've also got a lot of people that have questioned whether a 45-year-old man who has a broken back and a bunch of knee surgeries can climb a mountain or not. And I guess I'll find that out. I've told the people, I said, get the money for the kids before I climb, because if I die, at least that way it's in the bank.
That's fun. That's awesome. Listen, we're talking about how the fans are coming out to help. How much do the WWE fans, the fans that loved you when you were wrestling, still back you up in anything you do? How much support do you get through Facebook and through all the things you do?
They've been fantastic. It's funny because when I first started wrestling, heels had to be heels 24/7. And when I lived in Europe and I was wrestling all over Europe, heels had to be heels 24/7. So I didn't get a lot of interaction because you had to be a heel 24/7. So I'm actually having a good time now, hearing from fans on Facebook and on Twitter, sending me messages. Most of them are nice messages. A few of them aren't. That's okay. They have a right to say whatever they want. But I'm enjoying the interaction. And the longer I get away from wrestling, the more I'm enjoying it. I was a fan growing up, so there's no difference between me and them. It's just I actually did it for a few years. Now I'm just a fan now like they are. So I'm really enjoying the WWE fans out there and the wrestling fans out there. It's been a lot of fun for me connecting with those folks. Social media to me is just a blast. It's a way of connecting with a lot of old friends. It's like being in the locker room again, but without the travel, which I enjoy. The biggest part I enjoyed about wrestling was the camaraderie and the fans, the actual performance. But I hated the travel, so I can now get every bit of that except for the performance off social media.
John, I'm really happy you talked about, being a heel and the transition away from wrestling. My personal favorite run that you had was the fun-loving, beer-drinking, ass-kicking Bradshaw with Farouk and the APA. What was the transition like going from that to then being John Bradshaw Layfield, one of the top heels in the business for a long stretch?
I would have been perfectly happy being Bradshaw for the rest of my career. I had such a great relationship with Ron Simmons, and I hold him in such high esteem that I would have been happy just being his tag partner the rest of my career. I'd have been happy not having the JBL run to being able to have tag team with Ron longer. I think that much of him. His best friend I've ever had, and I really enjoyed the APA. But when the APA ended, I had this idea for JBL for quite some time, but I was doing so much with the troops overseas and in the United States that they really didn't want me to turn heel. And I was just lucky. It was pure luck. Big Show had gotten hurt. Brock Lesnar had left the company. Undertaker was hurt. Kurt Angle was hurt. And they needed somebody right away to go up against Eddie Guerrero. And Vince asked me one day, said, "Do you still want to do that character?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And that's where the JBL character was formed. And fortunately, it was against Eddie Guerrero because I don't think it would have worked, that transition. I'd been just kind of a mid-card to fill in on the upper card when needed type guy for so long. To transition to a main event like that automatically and just immediately was a tough character change, and if it hadn't been for Eddie Guerrero, it would have never worked. So I was in the right place at the right time, and I was wrestling the right person, and that's how the whole JBL character came about.
Mike Cahill?
Yeah, you mentioned something about just your work with the troops and how that influenced what direction the WWE would allow you to take. We see Cena, obviously, he's the face of the company right now, and he does so much with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. He's so front and center. Is it safe to say that that's a huge reason why a lot of wrestling fans talk about Cena going heel? Is it safe to assume that that's a huge reason why we haven't really seen that from him?
I don't know that, and I'm not even sure if it's fair for me to comment because it's pure conjecture on my part. I have zero inside information. My guess, and it's a pure guess, would be yes, you're correct. He's doing movies. He's doing a tons of stuff with Make-A-Wish. He's a wonderful advocate for the company. And if he's a heel, in my opinion, that makes it a bit tougher because now all of a sudden you're asking people to boo him in the arenas and then go to see his movies. And it just doesn't work that well. Even though, people understand it's a work. People understand it's TV. But they don't want to see a character, one thing in wrestling and one thing completely different in something else. It's a hard transition. So my guess is, yes, that's the main reason because he's done such a wonderful job. And he's done such a great job with Make-A-Wish. John is one of the most charitable people that I've ever been around. He does a wonderful job for so many different charities. That my guess, yeah, that is correct. That's one of the reasons that why he stays a babyface. Plus, I think he's also just good at being a babyface.
Yeah, being the babyface definitely isn't easy. You know, you were mentioning Ron Simmons. Where do you? I know you were talking about how he's your best friend, but as a wrestler and inducting him into the Hall of Fame, where does that rank for you as like an all-time moment? Your best buddy getting introduced into the Hall of Fame. Where was that for you?
If it was just my best friend, it would rank as one of my all-time greatest moments. But the fact of who Ron was as a wrestler to me makes it one of the greatest things I've ever done in my life. To induct the first black heavyweight champion, and like I said in the induction speech, you know, if you didn't have Teddy Rhodes, you wouldn't have had Lee Elder, and if you hadn't had Lee Elder, you wouldn't have had Tiger Woods. There's always had to be somebody that provides that transition, and to do something like Jackie Robinson did following Satchel Paige, you had to be better than everybody else around you to break a barrier, a gender barrier, a color barrier, or any other barrier that's put in place. And Ron was that guy. And because of Ron, you have guys like The Rock, Booker T, Mark Henry. So the historical impact of Ron's career, I realized the magnitude of what I was doing. It wasn't just my best friend. It was also a guy who was an absolute trailblazer and a wonderful representative, and possibly the greatest nose tackle to ever play college football. A lot of people will say that he is, and if not, he's certainly in the top 5. I mean, I was inducting a guy who's had every accolade you could possibly have, and I realized the magnitude of the moment. So it was one of the greatest things I've ever had the honor of doing. It was truly wonderful to be out there.
John, considering your friendship with Farouk, Ron Simmons, and what you guys were able to accomplish during the Attitude Era, you guys have such an important role with the ministry and the APA. Would you have preferred to go in together to the Hall of Fame, or is it better that you guys went in separately? Because you're definitely going to be there very shortly.
No doubt about it, separately. I would love to go in together one day, and I don't know if that would ever happen. I don't know if I'll go in. But Ron needs to go in alone. This guy was the first black heavyweight champion. He was everything you want in a professional wrestler. Here was a guy who was a runner-up for the Heisman Trophy at Florida State, who's carried himself so well over all the years. And Ron needs to go in alone. He needs to have a plaque by himself. If it ever came about that we go in together, it would be a tremendous honor. But as far as Ron going in, it's very deserving that he goes in by himself.